Hi, welcome back to yet another episode of Lean Coffee, the ninth, I believe, if I count them right, where we discuss anything related to Agile and Lean. We debate, we discuss, we agree and disagree, and we do it by taking turns presenting topics, winding up this timer for 4 minutes. When it rings, we quickly do this thing to decide if we want to add 90 seconds or simply proceed with the next one. Yeah, my name is Janlén.
Hi, I'm Leila.
Hello everyone, my name is Jagge.
Hi, I'm Anders.
I'm excited. Nice to see you. Let's dive in. All right. I'm going to bring the first topic here. I just learned today that you can apply for the job as innovation manager. If you search that on LinkedIn, you will find plenty of jobs where they look for an innovation manager. What do? Well, there seems to be a little bit of confusion, but here they're looking for someone responsible for progress and monitoring of innovation technology funnel to identify, screen, and validate technologies and ideas, blah, blah, blah. And here's another one. As an innovation manager, you will incubate and own a few great ideas from concept to first product, and you will work with a few kind of startup teams. So there seems to be confusion what it even means. So my question is, yay or nay, innovation managers, do we need them? Nays, yeah, woo, confusion. Okay, I'm going to start a timer here. Anders, you're switching between.
I think that we often talk about innovation that's something that's just supposed to happen within teams, and especially if we just create the right culture. And I think it does. It creates a certain kind of innovation, but the innovation that a company needs, the truly disruptive or strategic innovation, is hard to make. You don't get that from teams. And if you get those ideas from teams, you typically struggle with how to invest in them, how to actually make space for them, and how to actually build them out for real, because it's something that will take time and require a lot of investment. So I see why companies do, we set up a separate team. That's our investment. That's where we can actually fund the investment or this innovation.
But why the need to call this person innovation manager? For me, it's simply a product owner for a team exploring a brand new area or encouraged to explore different things, probably using a lot of discovery techniques and methods and whatnot. So
I kind of got stuck when you said monitor the innovation funnel. I think it's actually pretty dangerous to put innovation in a role or to put it in a specific team for several reasons. I think one reason is the FOMO, the fear of missing out for the rest of the teams. Yeah. Okay, so we're only doing the technical depth. We are only working on the business as usual stuff. We're not allowed to do the innovation because that is capped to this role or to this team. So that is one thing that I'm thinking about. Also, if innovation actually does happen within such a role or within such a team, I think there's also a risk of this team becoming the heroes of the company, always pushing the company into a new era, a new life, because of this team X, Project X. And I think that actually also can be pretty dangerous from an organizational culture perspective. But I also want to turn this question to somebody who actually does have Director of Innovation in his previous titles, Jagannath.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna confess. First of all, I do think what they try to mention structures can help innovation, not innovation. And the good part is that I've been so curious about why big business fails and small succeed, and why we miss that. And I went into that journey, especially to help big companies to go do this route. And I was on a training course with it's probably the big companies. Everyone has innovation titles. I'm talking big companies in Sweden. I'm not talking about Spotify. I'm talking about the real big companies, and everyone has the fancy titles. And we went around in the second day of training, and it was part of 10 days. We went around and showed examples of like innovation. Everyone talks about this the classic Netflix, but this kind of and like then I had almost like an epiphany. It's like, God damn it. It's all about brilliant jerks. Sometimes succeed with doing a crazy fucking shit and turns out to be a business. It's not about anything else. It's just put the right person in the right spot, let them run with it, and maybe it succeed or not. And then I actually quit after day 2 and said, this is sucks. And I realized this is just waste of money. They just try to use me for different things. So I'm all for structure will be there for you or against you. Right person would always fight against structure. That's innovation.
More. Or yes. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna continue here. For me, it just said do innovation, create a map, an innovative roadmap. Go ahead, and then I will give you bonus depending on how innovative you are. That just doesn't make sense either. Even if you have that job, maybe call it experimentation manager. You try different crazy things, because innovation is only something we see in the hindsight. So that thing we did or tried out was novel and new and cool and crazy. So
yeah, I agree.
Innovation doesn't exist in the future. It only exists in the past.
Yeah. The Vasa, I agree. But look at the Vasa ship in Sweden. It was a fucking failure, but now it's the most important, biggest museum we have. I'm pretty sure the king didn't say, hey, let's sink it. In 300 years, I will have a museum or whatever. I agree with you. Innovation is, someone else decide if it's innovation. That's why stop talking about it. Let the natural life happens, and then you see what happens.
I'm also thinking about the behavioral perspective of this, surprisingly enough. So I'm thinking about what kind of prereqs do you need in an organization for innovation to actually be happening? And I think you need to think about things as how much are you allowed to bring crazy ideas to work? To which extent do you have actually some space and time to work on things that are maybe outside of your normal scope?
Leila, I just had a 3-hour-long workshop on that topic. Let's stop talking about being innovative. Let's talk about how do we change the rules of the game to allow more experimentation to happen, and of which some will feel, in hindsight, like innovation.
I still think that even if you get that climate right and you get these like crazy hack days or hack weeks going, and you have all of the people thinking outside their role and like the exciting ideas, the things that really matter to the company will be so large that they won't be able to execute on them and take them to the point where it really disrupts the company, unless you have some structure for actually picking up those ideas and investing in them as a company. And there's different ways of doing that.
Is that structure the role of the innovation manager, or is it really something that is within the execution of how you work? Being able to actually bring an idea to a live product or a live feature or whatever you're creating. I don't know. I agree with you that there is something you can't just, let it be and it will magically happen. Yes. But I would say like it's the opposite. I think if you actually have this role to a specific person, it's almost more dangerous than focusing on what's our execution within this area. How are we doing this? How are we making it come alive?
I think for me, it's the 3 different types of innovation that I typically think about. Like there's iterative innovation, something that kind of pivots the product you're working with a little bit. That's amazing to get from the ground up, from every team. And some of them in hindsight can turn out to be really big. Like some of our biggest products came from hack weeks, and it started out small, but then it became something big. But then there's the like strategic innovation where you really look at more of like
let him finish though.
Okay, final one.
Okay, so where you really look at like what are we seeing as a company? What are we seeing in the industry? What are the gaps? What's the big major risks? Like, it's a much more analytical approach to innovation, and then building the solutions for that is super hard and requires a lot of innovative thinking. And then there's the like purely disruptive innovation that really breaks like everything you believe in as a company, all the like ideas that you have about how things should work, or your main business model. And that rarely happens in a company. That's where the big ones create, like, Alphabet or Facebook create like separate companies to make it happen, and other companies do this through acquisition. Like you buy companies that try something new because you can't do it within your existing structures.
And I guess that because failure isn't allowed within the existing structure, so that's why we set up a separate entity. And if that fails, we shut it down, then that's fine because we're still okay. Maybe
it's about failure. Actually,
this is also a thing that we always we don't sort of. A lot of people talk about innovation and success, but everyone talks about failures is good, and we should fail fast. But then always blame the companies that product that fails. Come on, but you it's good to fail. You happen if people need to crash, someone else needs to be creating, and it should be part of your life. I'm pretty pissed that innovation is only one way. You shouldn't fail.
I would want to recommend a reading tip for any viewers out there. There's an article out with Amy Edmondson as a co-author. It's called Agility Hacks. It definitely talks about what Anders were talking about, when you need to go outside your normal structure to be able to make things happen. That's a good read.
Cool. This was a really good start for today's Lean Coffee. I'm already winded up. Let's see who's brought what topic next.
Hi. So today I wanted to talk a bit about management teams. So there's a whole bunch of research out there about what makes a real team and how do we build efficient teams, and all of these type of foundations that a team needs to be seen as a real team and to also be productive and efficient. And I have been working a bit with management teams, and I've been thinking a couple of times about their existence. Are they really real teams? Yay or nay?
Yeah, I'm gonna do this one. I don't know what this means. I will explain what this means. Jagge, you froze. Damn it. Oh, both ways. All right, cool. I'm winding up the timer here. Who feels trigger happy? Okay, I do. I think they can be if they want to. If I've seen management teams who are not a team at all. They're a group of people protecting their own interests, and then they're forced to make some tough discussions together, have some tough discussions and decisions together. But mainly they're protecting and building and trying to create a successful marketing department or R&D department. And I've seen management teams that meet regularly on a weekly basis to discuss cross-company challenges and discuss how to structure and what's wrong with our culture and the way we lead and communicate. So I've seen both, and I think you can be a proper team according to the theory and 5 dysfunctions if you want to.
I think I agree. I think I've definitely seen both management teams that act as and behave and work as a real team, and management teams that are more of if best a decision-making forum or some other like forum where they get together to do a specific thing. I think my challenge is often that as a manager, you typically automatically become part of many teams, many management teams. Like you might have one primary team, but there's like your management team with your peers. There might be an extended leadership team. There might be like your team with direct reports. You might have with the same people of my same function across the company. And so suddenly you're part of like 5 or 6 management teams. And perhaps if you pick one of them and everyone in that team has that as their first team, it can work. But otherwise, I think it's better to realize that not all of them are going to be real teams.
I think one thing that is super challenging with management team is that they are often more. There are definitions of a fluid team versus a stable team, and maybe they are more of a fluid team because I think one base thing that maybe are not so much in the research, but like if you think about really successful teams that you've been in, good teams that you've been in, you spend a lot of time together. Like you do spend a lot of time together, and I think management teams seldom does that, and then they meet up and have all of these very high standards of things they are supposed to accomplish, which makes it kind of mission impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you explain very well the reality. And of course, there are bad and good, missions for all teams. But first of all, I'm starting to think about this. Is it really bad to be a group versus a team? Does it need to be against each other? Who created that problem? What's the problem being a group versus a team? So and then I come back to like, do we have actually the time and effort to create a team? Does it always need to be a team? Because many times, my experience managing teams is very short living. Many times it's happening a lot. People coming in, people move, people change, people leave, people get fired. So it takes a lot to create a team, a lot. And I agree with you, Leila. There, it's very demanding. And I'm actually back to that. Can we build a good enough group instead to solve the target without being douchebags and not being a full functional team? Because that time we don't have that time.
I believe you can, but so sure if you want to. However, I think there are a team because they have they should have shared responsibility for the success of the whole company together. But many times they act like a group, feeling accountable for the success of their department, right? So I think that's the problem. This rang, damn it. But sure, and that I see the most. They struggle to feel that shared responsibility for the collective outcome. But what they can do is at least be a highly functional group and practice honesty and being blunt and frank and to the point without that causing conflict. So sure. But
there's also an interesting question in what you're just talking about, Jimmy, and that is like the outcomes of this group. So these are a bunch of very important people that runs around in the organization doing very important things. And they also have their own team where like the other team outside of the management team. And to which extent and at what level are reasonable outcomes for such team? If you're thinking about such a huge epic scope on a mission to like drive the company forward, the strategy is like,
yeah,
it's an epic in the epics of epics kind of. So I feel sometimes there are so many unrealistic expectations for this team to live with.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know if it's even possible to, maybe the burden, maybe the stress to be a perfect team. Actually, I see more as a dysfunctional family as a goal. Like, okay, build, you don't need to like everyone. You need to actually at least survive the family dinner sometimes, Christmas parties, but you not need to work as a highly functional Manchester United prime time team and everyone is a high-fiving and delivering. I mean, that would be great. I love that. The effort to get there. Shit.
Okay, so final one. I think one true challenge, at least in companies that are doing transformation to make this happen, building a team, is that the people at that level, they didn't end up there because they were great team players. They succeeded in proving results, drive projects to the end, and yeah. Yeah. So that's why they're there. Those skills to succeed, to perform, to be top of something. And then you have, and they made a career out of this. And now they're supposed to collaborate as a team, discuss and agree. I feel sorry for them.
Good point. Good segue to the next topic, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree. I keep returning to, I mean, you mentioned these dysfunctions. I keep returning to the book 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, where they talk about this simple model. And for me, that like the book is a story about management teams, right?
Yeah.
And it comes down to the like you build basic trust so that you at least have people being like really speaking their mind about their opinion on the topics that the management team discusses, so that you actually get to real commitment as a team, and then that's when you get results.
Yeah.
I agree about the essentials of the team and like how it can function. I can facilitate that, but it's the scope and like the circle of influence and like the user story for this team to work with.
All right.
We're not going to solve this. I'm just leaving it hanging now.
No, we're not. And time is up. Let's move on to today's third and final topic.
This is my statement then. I think it's impossible to create a democratic company with the environment we have, where all companies are actually capitalist driven, more like a dictator style.
Are you asking us if we agree?
That's my statement.
Yeah, okay. Nay, yay, and in between. Anders, do you want to start this time?
No, let us start.
Should I start?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take the behaviorist perspective, surprisingly enough. So I hear what you're saying. The power shift is uneven in the society and in our organizations, and maybe we are trying to kid ourselves that something else would happen. But I think recognizing that we are pack animals, which is the behaviorist perspective on this, we are pack animals. We are always trying to fight for the alpha position. We are trying to secure our survival, and we're doing this in capitalist organizations as well. With that said, there's also something juicy that we can work with in this, and that is that we want to belong to the pack. So from the same notion where we are fighting for power, we can also work with the idea of team and belonging and how we can act with each other to make that cooperation happen.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm going to leave it at that for now.
I have a thumbs up. I believe that as long as we have a capitalist-driven company, meaning that we have a few on top and we need to produce results or money to the investors and whatnot, then we're going to have hierarchies of power or mandate. And we can try to level this out by different structures and have an agile team and whatnot. I think the only way out of this, if we want to have a true, inclusive, collaborative decision-making going on, where we maximize our purpose, what we want, we need to own our own business. Let's pretend we are running a restaurant and we are discussing on opening another venue to earn more money. Well, no, wait a second. That means more work, and we need to hire people, and that's just going to split the profit between 8 instead. So no more money for us. So then we will talk about how can we have more fun? How can we deliver a more joyful experience to the visitors, and etc. I think that's going to change the rules of the game completely.
Well, now you're bullshitting him. Sorry, but honestly, we have all experienced, everyone in this room, especially you, Jimmy, about how problematic it is with the idea of being collective ownership of stuff. It works well when someone wants something else or someone is going well. It's a classic concept about how apartment buildings are different. Like, is someone down low in the apartment going to pay for fixing the roof? No. Is someone paying for fixing the elevator on the level? It's all depending. We are always going to get into greed levels with power and mandate. Doesn't matter how good we build a system, and it's a constant force we need to work against. That's my idea. It's not about. It's just a natural force. You need to fight it, and can we even win? I'm not saying we're going to give up. I'm just saying it's a constant uphill battle.
I'm not saying everyone equal voice or ruining anything by the tragedy of the commons or anything like that. We will probably have to invent structures to make it work. but the reasons for our strategies and choices of decisions won't be to generate profit upwards or somewhere else. It would be to maximize how much we enjoy work or the purpose or the service we're trying to create. But I agree. We probably still have Anders. You've been silent.
But on a suggestion then, if we look at this is the natural force instead of fighting against it, let's pretend it is. This is how it is. The river flows that way. Can't we use it in a positive way instead of trying to swim uphill?
Are you just trying to say what I just said now?
Right.
Yes, we can.
All right, cool.
I want to hear from Anders.
Yeah, I'm not sure what perspective I'm gonna take on this. To be honest, I think that the different roles that you describe as a hierarchy of like increasing mandate don't really have different levels of mandate. They only have a mandate to make different decisions. And so at the C level, they do a lot of strategic decisions around the direction of the company, but they have no decision power on how we write our code or what the actual technical solutions is, or even on like detailed feature level, typically, because they don't have the insight. And I think they often feel out of control because they can't make those decisions. And vice versa, on the team level, they might feel that, oh, I can't make these decisions that the C level or my managers are making, but they are making a lot of other decisions. So I think a lot of companies would do well with being more clear about this. Like, what are the decisions that we expect from different levels, or what are the things that we expect these different people to drive or be accountable for. I also think that at every level, people feel out of control, and they feel that there's someone above them making decisions. And at the IC levels, they feel that the managers are making decisions, and at the C level, they feel like the board is making the decisions, and at the board level, it's the stockholders or the customers.
Yeah, and they're not only making decisions, right? So they are just the ones above. They decide whether or not you're good enough to stay around, meaning that so we don't have that's undermining democracy or flat responsibility anyway. So I'm in a constant mode to figure out what's the rules of the games, how do I look good, or what should I do, which behavior should I have in order to be promoted or salary raised.
The irony of the circus is really that we're actually trying to build democratized rituals when we're living in a dictatorship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's what's bothering me so many years now. Because the power is, I agree with Anders that you're saying we can decentralize in power. What I'm seeing is that those that have power can create so much damage or good in so fast with small things. That's the dangerous here.
And I think most leaders realize this, and they realize that if the few times they need to lean on their mandate or their decision power, it really hurts the company. I mean, people get upset, people get angry, people get demotivated, people disagree. So, I mean, at least most leaders realize that they can only do this so often. So they build democratic decision mechanism or like inclusive ways of making decisions, because they realize they only get away with so many top-down decisions. It's even better if they also realize that decisions are actually going to be better if I make it inclusive. But I don't think that's true for all leaders.
Awesome.
A little bit.
All right.
No, but I'm thinking about what you said, Jagge, as well. Like, how can we game this? How can we use it, like in a positive way, or like a different force? And I'm also thinking that there is, healthy tensions within this. Like, there are different tensions in the perspective of, okay, so we know that we have this ownership, etc., but I'm thinking about connecting Anders' idea to this, like that we should be aware of which decisions that is more suitable in different areas, and that we can use this tension maybe a critical perspective of like, okay, but should you really be taking these type of decisions from your perspective, from your role, from your place? Or should you leave this decision making to these persons or this team or la la la?
And maybe that's one of the most important purpose of kind of having these agile structures and teams, and is that yes, as you said, Jagge, the river is flowing this way, but if we have dictatorship, we're going to be miserable, make poor decisions. So we invent all these mechanisms to keep ourselves in check and to democratize the playground as good as it can be.
Yeah, the only thing I disagree with is you paint all these people, especially the leaders, as these like greedy, manipulative people, and I think most people just want to do a good thing, and they try their best to build a good company.
I'm not painting leaders. I'm painting everyone.
Yeah.
Humans are
It's
greedy.
even worse.
Period.
I
No,
believe the
it's
best of
life.
people.
All right. We're probably going to continue this conversation afterwards, and maybe you viewers will too with your colleagues and friends. That was the third and final topic for this episode. So let's wrap it up. Thank you for watching to the end, and I hope you enjoyed our debates and discussions and rants. Let's do a round to check what's buzzing in our heads.
What's buzzing in my head? I'm still reeling from the realization that Jagge believes that not just the leaders, but everyone is greedy and manipulative. I hope that we still see we have some belief in the good in people.
What I take with me is a lot of interesting topics, but most important, not most important, but the fun thing is that innovation and innovation manager is a first cue that you don't have innovation in place and you are lost.
I couldn't stop thinking about the poor management teams, and I just feel a bit humble before their scope of work, the mission they're supposed to accomplish, and very compassionate about management teams right now.
What's rotating in my head is the last conversation we had about having dictatorship, capitalistic companies, and trying to create a democratic playground. Yeah, that's going to spin in my head for a while, I think. But I hope you enjoyed this show. Click that like button, please subscribe, and if you want to promote and share us on, consider becoming a Patreon. And if you're watching this before mid of December, you can probably still register for our live Lean Coffee coming up. It will be streamed, probably on YouTube. But you'll find it on LinkedIn. So sign up. And that's it. Take care. Bye.